Welcome to Come Heal Yourself with Monica Goyle on OMTimes Radio. Monica is a spiritual counselor and healer with a life purpose to put people in touch with their innate healing abilities, empowering them to live a life full of joy, love, peace, and abundance. Through this show, you'll learn to heal every aspect of your life by connecting to your higher self. And now your host, Monica Goyle.
Welcome. Come heal yourself. Are you ready for the teachings from God? We have a very special guest, Courtney, here, who will be sharing with us the astonishing messages she has been receiving directly from the divine. And it's really amazing how young she is. She started receiving the messages when she was only 16 years old, and she wanted to get out these messages to the world. Now she's 19 and she is introducing to the world teachings from God, greeting your soul and revealing the divine within, a book of loving channeled wisdom brought forth to light mankind's path in challenging times. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I feel honored to be here, and I'm certainly excited to talk with you.
Yeah, it's our honor, and we are very excited. So tell us how this chapter began in your life.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, I was 16 years old, and I actually forgot to mention to you, too, I'm 20 now. I just turned 20 about a month ago.
Wow.
And so it's been about 4 years now since this chapter began for me, which seems crazy because it seems like not that long ago that this all started for me. But yeah, my spiritual life has been there for a very long time, really ever since I can remember.
Yeah.
But I think that as I got older, it became a more prominent part of my life, and I started to really study more about it and read more about it. And so I had a lot of focus on that, and I credit a lot of that to my parents, especially my mom, who primed a lot of that within me. She's always reading, she's always researching, and so we have a lot of good books, a lot of good music in our house, and so I was introduced to one of the big teachers in my life was Esther Hicks, actually.
Yeah.
And so I started listening to the teachings of Abraham when I was fairly young, and I read The Secret, and I listened to or I watched the movie Conversations with God, all when I was about 12, 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
Actually, I think I watched Conversations with God when I was about 9. And so those works really, really impacted me. And I started to realize that there are people out there that are experiencing such a deep meaning of life.
Yeah.
And I could imagine myself being one of those people who could, find enlightenment in their life. And
that's amazing. I mean, at the age of 9 years, you watched that movie, and I mean, you were interested in Esther's books and audios, and you understood those, right?
Yeah, to some degree, and to a lot of degree, actually, I didn't fully understand, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
I wanted to know more. It was like, especially the whole law of attraction, the topic of law of attraction totally fascinated me, because I thought, oh my gosh, it's like a secret weapon that we can have, that we can use to understand this universe. And so that really inspired me. And so I think all of that seeking kind of primed me for the big opening, if you will, when I was 16 years old. And I was also just, I guess, a very sensitive, aware child. And so I was going to online school for all of my high school years, and actually some of my middle school years as well. So I did that for a few different reasons. But as I did that, it gave me a lot of extra time for really pursuing my passions. And one of my big passions was spirituality. It became that. And so I was spending a lot of time studying Qigong, actually.
Oh, yeah.
From someone here in Minnesota, Spring Forest Qigong, and it's founded by Courtney Amundson. And he has been a very, very big inspiration and teacher in my life, just spiritually and as a person. And so I drew a lot, from him and from Qigong, and with all of this time with online school, I had a lot of extra time to really meditate, slow myself down, and study the things I was interested in. And it was leading up to March 12th, 2012 is when this communication for me started.
So what really happened?
Well, I was taking a meditation break during my school day, and I remember kind of procrastinating all day long. I couldn't focus. My mind was somewhere else, and I was thinking about a bunch of different things I had been researching at the time, past life regression and children who could remember their past lives. And it was just a lot of curiosity in me. And I kept thinking, I know I have memories, but I blocked them out, or I haven't remembered. And so I was taking a break during my day, just kind of recenter. And
so you were trying to remember your past lives or past
Well, I think I was very, very interested in it at the time. I remember about a week or two straight, I was just obsessed watching video after video on YouTube. So on this specific day, I remember just kind of, okay, I need to take a break from this. And I sat down like I normally did on a meditation break during the day. And I sat down on the couch in my living room, and I put some soothing music on, and I relaxed, and I said the usual mantra that I learned from Master Courtney Amundson. The mantra goes like this: I am in the universe. The universe is in my body. The universe and I combine together. And I would say that every single time I would sit down and meditate since I was 9 years old when I learned that.
Wow.
And I continue to do that to this day. It's something that puts me in the space, and
it combines you. It makes you realize that you're not separate.
Exactly. It was a mantra for me that was, it put me right in the space, because it was me kind of reminding myself, you're part of the whole, and this is part of you. And so I remember on this day, though, specifically, this new feeling came over me, and I think it was the day that I was ready to really open myself up. And what I felt was a golden light come through the top of my head, and I remember it being a completely blissful experience, just gorgeous energy that flowed through my body. And I remember just stopping, like my mind turned off, and all I could feel what was happening in my body. And it was this golden liquid light that was just trickling throughout my body. And I remember just sensing this amazing intelligence and unconditional love.
Wow. Courtney, we will take a very short break and come right back. Stay tuned with us.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
And we are back. Welcome back, Courtney. And so we were talking about, and looks like, Courtney, can you hear me?
Oh, yep.
Okay.
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, okay, sorry, yeah. I felt, you were not able to hear. So we were talking about your experience. So you were telling us the golden light filled you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was gorgeous, and I could feel this intelligence there and this incredible unconditional love. And I remember thinking at that moment, I remember feeling this lightness and like I had almost levitated off the couch. It was this amazing, blissful energy, and I remember feeling just transcendent, just like I was no longer human. And I remembered when I had this feeling, and I started to sense that this light wanted to speak with me, and the way that I felt that is this energy came through the tips of my fingers, and my hands started to move like they wanted to type. And I had remembered, I'd remembered what I had listened to with Esther Hicks' story, and she had talked about a similar experience, very similar experience to what I had, and I remember her going to the typewriter when she had this feeling, and so I went to my computer and I put my hands down on the keyboard, and I remember just surrendering to this presence. I could feel its love, and I had no fear. I had no hesitation, and I put my hands down, and they slowly started to type with such deliberate action, and I could feel the light. I could feel the light literally shooting out of my fingertips as they hit the keyboard. And so much love and compassion and so much joy in the communication that I was having. It was like, you're finally here. That's what I felt like they felt like for me. And not just for me, but I could imagine everyone that was, that might be reading the words later and So I went on this amazing, personal journey. It started as a personal journey for me, awakening to my true, authentic voice and discovering my soul purpose. And I realized, very early on that I was supposed to be an author, and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that. I wanted to be a classical violinist, and I wanted to, go to Juilliard, and that's what I was studying for at the time. And I discovered something different, something amazing and different that I was being guided to do. And so in the beginning, it was about following that, and then I started to deepen my connection to the divine and understanding of God and source energy, and that we're all part of that. And when my personal journey expanded and deepened, the teachings got deeper.
So there was no doubt at all in your mind about the messages that started flowing to you?
It was undeniable. I mean, no matter how many things I could come up with, it could never, because you know what was astounding about it is that I would sit there with my eyes closed. My hands would type by themselves a million miles an hour. My mom would sit next to me oftentimes, and she would ask questions, and I would completely go into this other place. I would see magical realms, and I would be guided by these light beings. And when I would come back, there would be 5-10 pages on the page, single spaced. And I would read them back, and I would remember nothing except for my personal experience wherever I traveled to. And we would read this together, my mom and I, and, sit there in my little twin-sized bed and read these pages. And I would go, oh my gosh, like I wrote this, and where did this come from? And a lot of the vocabulary I didn't even recognize. So these things were coming from a really deep place I had no idea existed.
But you remembered where you went.
Yes. And I just felt so like in the presence. It was amazing because it was my first true realization that we're all here for a purpose. And when I got beyond myself and I saw what was really there, wow, I mean, there's so much beyond this physical experience that we're able to connect with. I mean, it's not in another world, it's part of us. All of these magical things are real.
Wow.
And that's what I really connected with. And the book itself, what is now compiled into a physical book, is a whole lifetime of information, possibly more. I mean, I'm digesting every day as much as everyone else is. And what's just amazing about it is that it's alive. It speaks personally to every single person that picks it up. It's it's beyond just a story. It's beyond just something that I wrote and I'm giving to other people to read. It's actually the universe speaking to each and every person individually in that moment.
Yes.
And so it's a magical book, and it feels humbling to me to be in this position.
Thank you for sharing with us. Yeah, no, we needed it. And thank you so much. I guess your innocence, your openness, your connectedness, just helped it to flow through you.
Definitely. And I think that because I was raised in this environment where I really had nothing to judge about this experience. I had no conditionings or religion to tell me whether this was, right or wrong, or if that was if that was sinful or whatever. There was nothing like that in my mind. I knew what it was. I knew it was truth because of the way I felt, and it allowed my experience to be very pure. That's my understanding, is that I didn't have conditionings or belief systems to base on God, which helped me to truly experience such a pure state. And that's something also from my human mind that I still cannot understand. My experience in that state as I was receiving this book is something very different than how I might understand it with my mind. And so
how were you able to how were you able to put together a book? Because you, like you said, whatever was flowing was something that a human mind cannot.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I never went in with a direct, what's the word? I didn't have, my purpose was not to write a book ever. My purpose was to go deeper into meditation.
So you were not really, you were not really expecting anything, and
not
you
at
were
all.
not really planning anything.
Not at all. What my mantra began, or my practice began, was, what do I need to hear? Right after I really got beyond the obsession phase with all of this, just, question after question all day long, I got to this place where it was just, what do I need to hear? And that was where it really started to deepen, because I surrendered and I accepted that I don't know everything. I accepted that I am going to be a student of life.
Wow.
And when that happened, stuff poured at me, just poured through. These deep universal teachings just started coming through. And that was my moment of surrendering. It was, what can I deliver to really bring enlightenment, not only to myself, but, make a ripple effect outward.
It's amazing. So much wisdom. How wise you are.
Thanks. I learned from Spirit.
And so much clarity. This is beautiful.
I think it's funny too that you say that, because I noticed that in myself too, more than I ever have in my life. And I was never good at public speaking. I hated standing up in front of the class and delivering some kind of, even if it was 2 minutes, I just like sweating bullets over it. And I've gotten so much, I want to say, special talents from this, because I have pulled stuff out of, and I don't want to get too metaphysical or whatever, but the Akashic Records is kind of like the storehouse, the library within our physical bodies, within our soul.
Yeah.
That kind of stores everything from all of our lifetimes, all of our incarnations. And what I've learned a lot from this book is that we have this infinite toolbox within us, and we're able to utilize all of those talents, all of those capabilities at any point in time. So that's amazing, because anything that you might not feel very confident in, if you learn to access that wisdom within yourself, then you can restore all those things. You don't need to relearn them all. And so I noticed, as I kind of stepped into my soul purpose, and I followed the signposts, and I did what Spirit was telling me to do. All of that just came to me naturally, and one day all of a sudden I was just very comfortable speaking.
Wow. So how do you begin to unlock that wisdom?
Well, I think this comes back to the very foundational principle about free will. And in the very, very first chapter of my book, I think even in the first paragraph, it says that asking is essential. And that's in reference to spiritual growth.
Okay. We will take a very short break, and we'll come back to learn more about the free will from Courtney.
bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Vibe Nation Radio is brought to you by Carrie Turcott and Dean Thomas. Each week we bring a refreshing outlook to lifting the veils of illusion that occur in our daily lives. We will share our own learnings and personal experience that allow others to understand who they truly are.
At the end of each show, Carrie will be tapping into the listeners' energies just to give an idea of what to expect for the week ahead. So join us each Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and together we will discover the inner keys that will unlock the true you.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Welcome back, everyone. And we were talking about asking through free will. Welcome back, Courtney.
Thank you. So asking through free will, it's such a essential thing I've learned is that, the biggest part of being human is that we have a limited perception of, the wholeness and there's this journey that we go on to discover who we really are, discover our soul's purpose. And apparently from the larger perspective, that's the joy of all of it, is that we want to go on that journey and we want to play that game of not knowing everything, of being able to discover something. And so asking is really what allows us to open those doors to new information. And so that has been, my personal journey, and my personal intention for my life is to always stay on top of myself and to always remember to, keep asking, how do I take more veils down? How do I, see what I don't want to see in order to grow, and how can I be of service to myself? And that's a big thing that I've always had a, very, very clear, very clear intention about is what do I need to see that I don't want to see in order to grow. And that for me was the biggest way to unlock a lot of answers is to surrender in that way and to allow myself to, maybe see something that I didn't want to see. And even if it was ugly, it would unleash a lot of power and a lot more observation of the world. So asking is essential to spiritual growth, and it allows you empowerment. It allows you to co-create with the universe. That's a big one.
That I totally agree. And you are beyond, your years for sure. It's so hard to surrender.
It is, because we think we got it all put together. I mean, that's the thing. We think that we know these, these things, and you can
also
never.
Sometimes there is fear. It's very, I don't know, it's very strange. We know we are always taken care of and we don't really have any control over life, but still it's so hard to surrender sometimes. Have you experienced that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every day.
And so how do you overcome it?
Well, I found that it's not really about overcoming it. It's about leaning into it and feeling what you need to feel from these emotions. And anytime you try to overcome something, there's resistance that comes with that, right? I mean, you're trying to overcome something, and you've got this belief system about it that you can't do it, or what happens if you can't do it, and all of these things is resistance. It's telling yourself that the situation or the way you feel in the situation is not right. It's bad. And we as humans, we have emotions, and we have this ability to categorize things as good or bad. And from the higher perspective, there is no good or bad. But I've learned that there's never going to be a point, despite what many, spiritual folks say about, you get enlightened and then it all makes sense and you walk around, just floating, on clouds, and it's not that way. What I've found to be is that you still come across obstacles. You still, get triggered by things, but your ability to see them in a different way is it's heightened to a sense where you're able to see these things as not as much external, but more internal. So you see it as like, somebody triggers you, you think, okay, what am I not willing to see within myself? And then why am I mirroring that just to that person? Or, something happens, you get in a car accident and you think, well, it's good that happened, because otherwise, something much worse could have happened. And it's a different spin, because that you're always being taken care of.
And there is a reason, there is a lesson.
There is a reason, but you've created all of these experiences. You don't see life happening to you as much. Then again, we always get in these, we're going to keep being presented with situations that is going to challenge our ego self. And maybe you don't want to use the word ego. Maybe you just want to use, the more human self. I don't know which word you want to use for that, but it's trying to come up with a word that doesn't mean good or bad as much. But the point is that the human self is going to be triggered no matter what. There's somebody close to you dies, you're still going to be emotional.
Right.
It's still going to mess you up, but the difference is you're able to see that situation and act upon it with more grace. And I experienced that last year with my grandma, and yes, my human self was devastated, and I still experience separation. I still experience loss and grieving like any other human being. And for me, the lesson was not to keep judging myself and say, well, what that other experience is like. Don't be sad about that. It's a beautiful thing. And transition is a beautiful thing. But I'm still human. And part of this lesson is about leaning into, what I've given myself for in this experience. It's to be human. And so many times as spiritual beings, especially spiritual teachers, we think, okay, now we've gotten to this place. Now we're just supposed to be all enlightened and pretend like we're not human. No, lean into what we've been given. It's not a bad thing. I mean, it's just different. It can be uncomfortable, but that's part of the experience.
So truly like practicing non-judgment, and it starts with one own self.
Yeah, and you'll find that in the book too, that everything is so loving. Like everything, every single topic you'll see in there. It's about having compassion for yourself. It's about finding love for yourself and not seeing good and bad, not getting so stressed out over the little things that we all get stressed out over.
Yes.
It puts everything in such a, amazing perspective. And
it truly does. Yeah. But this is amazing. I mean, really honored to have you here.
Thank you.
So we were talking about the Akashic Records. So tell us how to, like I know it starts with asking asking through free will, right? But how do you really use that wisdom?
Why I was laughing is because Spirit always kind of makes fun of human beings for this, because we always, and myself included, we kind of come at this subject and many subjects alike about, and we say, how do you do this?
Yes.
And the joke is always, there's no 12-step process. That, it's never about do this and then do this and then do that and then there you go,
Yeah.
And it's a personal journey.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. You just took my words. Yeah. It is a personal journey. And so it does, like you mentioned, I think it does come down to free will. And when you do ask for that to present it to you, and the words will be different for everyone. For me, it was, how can I truly surrender in this moment so that the information can be presented to me? I had to learn to get out of my own way so that I wasn't going in with a motivation. Because anytime I did that, it meant that I was trying to achieve something. And what I learned is that you have to let go of everything in order for it to really come to you. And when I did that, that's when the information just sort of started to pour out. But what I learned, a very big thing that I learned about the Akashic system, is that everything lies within our physical bodies. And it goes with that part about the golden toolbox as well, that everything lies within our physical bodies, and that does not go away. Based on our many incarnations, it's something that remains in there and gets stored, because we are eternal beings. Our physical bodies might change, but the information is still there. And so when we ask for something to be pulled out, say like a certain talent or a certain ability, maybe it's just about retrieving the wisdom, the wisdom and guidance system within you. When you ask for that to be presented to you, you're also, in a sense, you're asking to take a backseat and to listen for that guidance. And it's a very, very big part. The asking happens almost automatically. The law of attraction, that work talks about this, and Esther Hicks talks about this, is asking is what we do 24/7. That happens automatically. We're born with desire. We're born with that. But what is not automatic for us is the part where we step back and we listen. And I think that's the bigger piece, is that we're asking all the time, we're making judgments all the time, but we can't always hear.
That's so true. And we will continue our discussion right after the break. Please stay tuned.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences, to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Simone Milasas would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Milasas, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
We have Courtney here talking about teachings from God. To keep up to date on Courtney's latest news, you can subscribe to the newsletter on her website, teachingsfromgod.com. And there are weekly meditation happening, and so you have those as well. And her book is available on Amazon, and there is a paperback version and also Kindle version. And I would highly encourage you to definitely read her book. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And there is so much clarity. It's profound but very simple. Something that's very easy to understand. And we all know, but how she has presented it and how she has put the channelings in the book is really, really simple and easy to follow. Welcome back, Courtney.
Thank you. And I'm glad you said that too, because it is important, I think, too, to be able to understand these things.
Yes.
As a human being, it's hard to understand these deep concepts, and it's something that I love about it too, is that there's humor, there's lightheartedness, and there's metaphors that are easily understandable, and it makes you smile.
Yes. No, it's very, this is a profound truth, and we all know, divine doesn't want to make anything complicated for us. It's us humans who do that. Really, Courtney, I'm really amazed at the clarity, the purity, the innocence, and the simplicity you have.
Thanks. I can't take full credit.
Well, it's your openness,
Yeah.
It's your connection, and it's your will to stay connected and open that you are able to do this. You are following your life purpose.
I know, and it's strange sometimes because it feels a lot of the time that I'm sort of running in the dark, but I have clarity along the way. It's me kind of stepping out and not knowing what's next, and being somewhat okay with that at this point, because I know because I've had so many experiences along this road, that when you do that, when you listen and when you follow those signposts, that you're always presented with exactly what you need, and the people and the connections, and that is why this work is going to thrive. That's why this, my journey is going to thrive, is because I'm not doing anything out of obligation. I'm not doing anything for any external reasons besides the fact that it's something that comes very easy, naturally. It's something that is just really flowing through me, and I'm doing a service.
That's awesome.
That's what it feels like, and it can come in any shape, any form. Musician, the author, the artist, and
so true.
And it's everything that's creative, everything that comes from that place where you're doing it, and time passes and you barely realize it, and you're able to share something that kind of transcends the mind, transcends all the problems of the world, all of the dramas and traumas, and that's what we need more of. And I wish that everyone could just do that thing. And everybody has that. Everybody does have something. But do that thing, and don't make up excuses of why you can't do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. I mean, really. And if you had no fear, if you followed that impulse, you'd be presented with the rest of the stepping stones along the way that are going to get you somewhere. But you have to trust, and you have to do it without fear.
You have to start listening to that inner voice.
Yeah.
So Courtney, it's the hour just passed by. We have few minutes left, and there is so much to talk about. But most importantly, for all of us listeners, what practices do you recommend for spiritual growth and personal development?
I like that one a lot, because whenever that comes up, I would say there isn't one. I would say that, and it goes along with kind of what I said about there's no 12-step process, and that, you need to
But
follow.
what has worked for you?
What has worked for me?
Yeah.
For me personally, I love practicing Qigong. That's something that called to me, something that my body or soul wanted, and I followed that. But what I tell people is there's no right or wrong thing, that you need to kind of ask your body, yourself, what feels good, and listen to what it wants, and what works for one person might not be what works for another.
Sure.
And so, but first and foremost, be your own spiritual teacher, because all of the wisdom lies within yourself. And anytime you kind of bow down to another person, another human being, and it's giving your personal power away. And what I've learned is that we're all divine beings. We all have this wisdom, and it's not just me. It's not just Deepak Chopra. It's not just, you know what I'm saying? It's just, and I've been there too. And you have to, at some point, get to this point where you realize we're one of the same. We all have come from the same place. We all have wisdom. I had no idea that I could be capable of channeling those words, but it's beyond my human self, and we're all beyond human. We all have more than that. So what I would say is, for your personal practice, let it be what it is, but but challenge yourself to go beyond your humanness and ask for, what transcends the mind to be presented to you in a way that's best for you. Best for you. And when you do that, it's going to be personal. It's going to be just how you need to hear it. And then you listen to it. You listen to it and you do that thing and you let it be your own personal experience. And that's perfect. It's right for you.
And I mean, when you really surrender, the answers do come.
Always.
Always,
yes.
So that's so awesome. So, I mean, as we are coming to the end, is there any last message or any favorite parts of the book that you would like to share with us?
That's a hard one. I love a lot of it right now.
But whatever is coming up.
Yeah, whatever is coming up. I would say that, a big piece for me that I've learned is that, and I think I kind of said that in just a minute ago, is that, we're all part of this source energy and we all have this wisdom and something that I've learned that is super important is, truly devote all of your time and energy to yourself. And selfishness, what we call selfishness, is actually the greatest form of self-love.
Yes.
And when you devote all of your attention to yourself, to discovering your true, authentic voice, you're going to be happy, you're going to be fulfilled, you're going to feel empowerment, and that's what it's all about. Follow your guidance system and you'll be shown the way, the light for yourself. And don't be discouraged because there is no wrong way. There's no wrong way. There's no way to, there's no such thing as stumbling too many times. So you get back up like a puppy does and you keep going and you don't beat yourself up because that's life. That's what it's supposed to be like. We're not supposed to get it perfect. That's not how it goes. So, so that's what I would say, embrace your humanness and this book can be helpful in that journey of just being human.
This is beautiful. I mean, 1 hour with you just flew. I know you have a lot to share and I really would encourage all our listeners to read the book, which is really beautiful and very helpful. Thank you so much, Courtney. Really grateful and honored to have you today and looking forward to many more shows together. Namaste. Until next week, have a blissful life. See you 7 p.m. Pacific next Sunday. Namaste.